Welcome to our 7th video tutorial. Now, in the last 6 of our video tutorials, you learned quite a few skills. We started off talking about the information that you'd find on the ball band of a nice piece of yarn, and then we went on to casting on. So you definitely need that. That is, you can't go far without that. Then we went into a knit stitch. Now, knit stitch is your basic stitch that you use for most of your knitting, followed by a purl stitch, which is a beautiful combination and gives you lots of different things, including stocking stitch. That's when you purl one way and you knit the other way. Those 2 rows combined together will give you stocking stitch. Now, we went on to do increasing, and then in the last one, decreasing. We also discussed a bit of rib. So that's just doing a couple of purl stitches and a couple of knit stitches, and that'll give you the difference. So what we're going to do from now on for the next 6 videos is to put our skills to good use. So we're going to make things, just simple things, don't panic. Right, so we're going to have a series of practice squares in effect. I just cast on 36 stitches in red, and that gives you a lovely square of just knit stitches. Okay, so I did a red one and a black sparkly one. I don't know if you can see the sparkles. Now, going back to our rib instructions, I did it slightly differently on the next 2. So I knit 4 stitches and then purled 4 stitches, and I did this in the rib combination for 4 rows. When I had finished those 4 rows, I swapped the combination round and started with 4 purl and then 4 knit, and this gives a box effect. So let me show you to the camera first. There you are. Okay. But it is exactly the same as if you were doing a rib. You're just changing the combination slightly. So you can do any 4 of your practice squares as long as they are the same size, because what we're going to do is put them all together to form a cushion front. Okay, so I'll swap the camera around now as usual, and I'll show you how to do that. Right then, these are the things we'll need for the cushion. We're going to need a zip, and you'll need a nice darning needle with quite a large eye. Don't know if you can see that. There we are. See, it's a big space. You will need your 4 squares. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we also need something to back them with. So I've just started to cast off this very large square that is the same size as the 4 put together. So remember how we do that? We knit 2 stitches onto the needle and then take the one behind over and off. So we're just going to get to the end of the cast off. Okay, nearly there. So most of this video is going to be about constructing the cushion, because it's using your practice squares. You should have already done that and have them all nice and ready to use. It'd be very interesting to see what your practice squares look like, actually. Ooh, that one's got a bit funny. Right, do it properly. There we are. See, we all make mistakes, but they're very easy to rectify if you just take your time and go back and undo it. There we go. Last ones. Over and off. The very last one. There we go. Now can you remember what we do with that loop? We make it bigger. Let's get rid of the knitting needles. And now I'm going to leave a longer loop than normal because you can use it for sewing the back to the front. So you'll also need in your kit a nice pair of scissors. So there we go, let's push this through the loop. Tighten it off. And there's the large square that is the same size as the 4 practice squares put together. And that's going to be the backing. So we'll put that to one side and then I'll show you how to knit the 4 together. All right then, I've already stitched together 2 of the squares and another 2 of the squares so that I can show you how I've done that by fixing it along the long edge. So that I get those points nicely together, I'm going to stitch that down first using the tail end of when we cast on. They're very useful bits. So you take the wool through right so that you can get those corners together, and that'll give you a nice look on your finished piece. So you sort of stitch that together. Just go down again on the other side. There we go. And then down to the back. And that helps us to keep the work together. And I will do that again on this corner as well. Again, these are just the tail bits that we left when we cast on. There we go. So thread that one and stitch that down together. Now, try and keep it just little stitches and as neat as you can. I just fixed it off then by going through the loop. And then we've got the other end. Oh, I've got 2 choices here. Hang on, let's get that bit out of the way. Where's the little one? There it is. Now this end we're going to use to stitch it all the way down. So when I cast off these squares, I left a longer than normal cast off piece. So you know when you go through the loop and then you cut it, I left quite a long tail because I knew I was going to use them for sewing up. So when you know you're going to use the end to sew other pieces to it, then it comes in very handy. See, look how long that bit is. Yeah, so we're just stitching down the corners. And this will help in the long run to get the sizing right. Oops. Helps if I can get it through the hole. There we are. Push that to the back. So now, what I did with those 4 is stitch 2 together, stitch the other 2 together, and then you've just got to do the one long line through the middle. So I will show you how I've done that. What I like to do is take a little piece from each side when the work is lying flat, and these are the right sides, so I can keep it nice and neat. So I'm just going to, for the purposes of sewing, I'm going to turn that round. There we are. So it's a little piece from this side. Just take a small stitch through your work and then a little piece from the other side. Now I'm not going very far into the work, just enough to secure enough of the wool to bring it side by side with the other piece. And there we go. Try and keep it nice and flat. Don't over pull it, but bring it together. So now I'm taking a piece from the red side. Just a small piece. Pull the yarn all the way through. And then a piece from the other side. And can you see how it's coming together nicely? And it's quite flat. You don't get that bulky seam. There we are. And you just keep going like this until you get to the end. Now, try and keep it even. And the reason we attached these anchors in the right places is so that you can keep checking that it's going to fit. There we go. And you just adjust it as you're stitching. So come back to me in a bit and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so here we are. I've almost got to the end of this long line now. So you can see by just taking a little piece from either side that you bring the squares together. And by bringing the middle together before we started, that helped to keep those four corners nice and locked together. Now we're just getting to the end. So I'm continuing to take those little bits either side of the square on the edges, and it just brings them together nicely. Right, not much for, oh dear me, let's do it again. So you just take the needle to the yarn, give it a wiggle, and it's through. Doesn't take too long. There we go. So a little bit of the black one and the red one. Always takes longer than you think, but have patience. Try and be as neat as you can, and we'll soon be to the end. There we go, getting there. Oh, just a small amount now. And then I'll show you how to stitch in the ends so you can secure it off and keep it nice and neat. And you can do this with all your ends then. Yep, pull that one through, and this at the end. And then I'm going to turn it on its side so it's easier to handle. Then wait until you've just got like a little loop and push your needle through the loop and then tighten it off, and that should secure it. Now this is the wrong side, or the reverse side, and what we're going to do is just take tiny little bits like this in your needle and then firmly pull it through. And this is how you hide all those messy ends. You just snip it close, but be careful not to snip your work. So let me get rid of that one. And then same with this one. I'm just going to thread that needle nice and quickly. And again, taking your needle through little bits, just secure off that end and not leave it hanging about. Just push it through. Doesn't have to be uniformed in any way. There we go. And then snip it close, but don't snip your knitting. And then you would continue to do that with all these loose ends on the reverse side of your work. Okay, so we have finished our back, we've done the front, and now we're going to attach it all to the zip. So I've taken that long tail that that I left when I cast off, and I've threaded it through my nice darning needle. And now you just bring the knitted work over the zip. You can see where the zip is in the middle. So obviously you don't want to go over that. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a running stitch, which if you remember is very simple. Now I need to go down first into the zip, pull that yarn through, and now the corner is coming to the end of the zip. There we go. And then from underneath, bring your yarn up again. Now you can keep it nice and straight by using your lines of knitting. There we are. On the way up again. And looking where you're going, you just go up and down into the zip on the other side, you can see, and then up to the top of your work, and then pull it all through. Try not to get it tangled, just take your time, and we're going to go all the way across. So down in through the wool and the zip, and then back up again. There we are. Straighten it out as you go. Make sure you've just got that little bit of the middle zip of the zip popping through. You can feel it with your thumb and finger. There we are. Don't pull it too tight, but just tight enough so that it lies nice and flat, but not scrunched up. There we go. Now carry on all the way across until you get to the other end, and then secure it off on the reverse side. Right then, I am just coming to the end of the second side. So I put the back on first, then I flipped it over like this. See, I've opened the zip now. I just pull it to show you how it works. So we put the back on first, then I flipped it round and we put the front on in exactly the same method. So we want to keep it open while we're doing this last bit, and I'll show you why in a minute. Oh, got myself in a tangle. I'll just put that back through. Put my thumb in the way, then it won't get tangled. That's a neat trick actually. If your yarn keeps getting tangled, hold it from the top with your thumb on it like that, and it keeps the yarn going through smoothly. There we are. Now nearly there. So they're not great big stitches, they're just nice and neat. There we go, too much talking, not a lot of looking. Put my thumb in it, there we go. Almost to the end. Now, the yarn is long because I'm going to use it to stitch up the sides as well. That's why. So, what I'm going to do now is we're going to bring it together. And you can just check that your knitting is finishing at the same size. There we are. Get that one out of the way. That's another tail. Right, so I'm just going to go across the other side now and bring it back, just like we were when we were stitching up the squares. Just a couple of stitches back and forth, so that we don't have an edge, a raw edge to that zip. There we go. That should do it. So that's just about 3 times, so that now you can see it's got a coming together there. And I'm going to take that needle through so that my yarn is on the edge. There we are. And I shall secure it off. So we get to that little loop, then through. There we are. Now I'm going to just leave a small tail there, and I can tidy that up on the inside. And I'm going to do that on the other side. So this is where we started. So we're just going to secure that yarn on the side. You see, now you won't see these bits when you've stitched it up. So whatever you do, you're doing things on the sides and on the reverse, because you don't want them, see how slowly I'm going there? So I don't want that tail to come all the way through. Then I'm just securing through again. You just do things nice and gently. There we go. Now, you can't see that. And it's secured. So I'm going to take a little bit from that side. And then take it back through. It just brings the edges of the cushion together. There we are. A little bit, just so it goes, hides the bottom of the zip, that's all. And just makes it look nice. Take it through again. Work my way back to the edge. There we are. So that'll be disappearing inside your cushion. I'm going to do our securing loop again. There we go, slowly. Where is it? There we are. Put the yarn through. And take a small tail that we can tidy up later. Now, I will show you that we now have a zip. Now, I'm not going to do it all the way up, because when you stitch the sides of something together and it's got a zip in it, if you zip it all the way to the end and then you stitch both sides up, it's very difficult trying to get it open. So all I'm going to do now, just like when we put the squares together, I'm going to do the sides along the top and down the other side, and then we'll have a cushion cover. Right, so here we go. I have stitched all the way around, just closing up the zip. I've put a nice big cushion inside, and there you have it. A cushion from your practice pieces. There you go, it's lovely and squishy now, plump. Now, you might wonder, why am I making things with the practice pieces? There are a few reasons for that. The first reason is I don't like waste. And the second reason is, why not? You've knitted them, make something that you can say, I made that. And the third reason is, when you come back after you're much better and you look at the practice pieces that you made, you'll feel so pleased with yourself with the improvement. Okay, have fun and send me pictures. Let me see what you've been up to. Okay, there you go. That's one lovely cushion, and you can make as many cushions as you like. Do them in different colour combinations or all in the same colour. They will look lovely. You can even do more and more practice squares, the more patterns that you learn, put them together and make a blanket. So have fun. And it only remains for me to say, please like, share and subscribe to these videos and I will be very, very happy. Thank you. Bye-bye.